we are a small group of professionals who are examining the backlogs of cold cases and closed cases within our files. Cases of a very specific kind. When genre fans take their love of media too far, you get twisted, real-life criminal acts.
Hey, detective. Hey, detective.
Jesus, Jane.
What you thinking so hard about?
Well, if you must know, I was thinking about sequels.
Is this about Scream 6?
I'm sick of Scream. Sequels are indulgent. It's possible to have too much of a good thing, don't you know?
Oh, that's so boring. There's been plenty of awesome sequels. You know, like...
Do not say Halloween Ends. Got Peacock for nothing.
I wasn't gonna say that.
Just forget about sequels. I should never have brought up in the first place. Damn, my inquisitive brain.
I think I can change your mind.
Friday the 13th, part 6.
It's easily the best one. I mean, I was gonna see if you wanted to watch it with me.
First off, no. Second off, I don't like Friday the 13th. I mean, how good can a series possibly be about some camp counselors getting murdered in the woods?
Okay, say what you want about the other movies in the franchise, but keep part 6 out of it.
The only interesting thing to ever come out of that series was the murder in '88.
What murder?
Greenfield, Massachusetts, 1988.
1988? Oh, that year was radical. Child's Play, Hellraiser 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the best of the best.
Jane, please, we're talking about murder here. This isn't radical at all.
Sorry, it's just you change subjects really fast.
A young woman was stabbed to death by a sick man who was dressed in the likeness of Jason Voorhees.
What, like he thought he was Jason or something?
Well, let's not jump to any conclusions. First, let's take a look at what the evidence has to say.
Pamela, you're such a flirt. Sharon Gregory was found by her twin sister stabbed to death in her family home on October 24th, 1988 in Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Sharon's sister was quick to inform the police of her suspicion of local 19-year-old Mark Branch.
Why did she suspect him?
Well, Branch had a bit of a reputation in town as being a creep, and Sharon was doing a psychological report on him for her local community college.
The police then searched Mark's residence. They didn't find him, but supposedly found 75 slasher films, 64 true crime books, along with horror memorabilia like masks, machetes, and 3 knives. An extensive collection of torture porn was found as well. No need to elaborate further on that.
This guy was disgusting.
Branch's car was found near Buckland Forest, not too far from the scene of the crime. But no sign of Branch. They looked for him for weeks, but kept hitting dead ends.
Until November 29th, when a hunter stumbled upon Mark Branch's body hanging from a tree, about an hour walk from where his car was found.
An official time of death was never given, and the exact cause of his death is still debated over, even till today.
Branch's body was found slightly decomposed and ruled a suicide.
And to make matters even more suspicious, Sharon Gregory's murder weapon was never found.
Is there more?
Those are all the known facts.
What was the point of bringing in Pamela?
Moral support.
That was a little anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic? Jane, please, be more respectful. A woman died.
Sorry, bad word choice. I was just expecting there to be a little more evidence.
Greenfield was shaken by the prospect of a serial killer in its own backyard.
Now you've got my attention.
Once the residents found out that Branch had escaped, they thought he'd go on a killing spree all the way up and down the East Coast.
All of this happened just days before Halloween? Jeez, they must have been really spooked.
Indeed they were. So much so that the town council even petitioned a local theater to remove Halloween 4.
Did everyone a favor with that one?
They didn't stop there though. They moved their annual Halloween parade indoors, as well as setting a curfew for the local trick-or-treaters.
Okay, now that's too far. I mean, it sounds like everyone in Greenfield was just watching too many movies. I mean, this is like how boring side characters would act in this situation.
Sometimes, Jane, life is stranger than fiction.
You could say that again. Gosh, I have so many questions.
Why don't you have a seat?
Huh? I can't stand for this?
Then take a seat. I need to think.
How does this help you think?
You ask away questions, and I'll start to organize them.
How did they not see this coming? And why did the town react so irrationally? Also, why
I meant one at a time.
Okay, how did no one see this coming? I mean, this weirdo rented all these DVDs and had such a creepy obsession. I mean, people had to have taken notice.
You're right. And someone did. Sharon Gregory. That's why she was doing the psychological assignment on him. She knew there was something off about Mark Branch. I doubt she thought she'd get murdered for it.
She must have been at least a little afraid. I know I would be. But I mean, why was she even doing her report on him out of all people?
We can only theorize.
Can we, like, look at the files and find out for sure, right?
Unfortunately, that won't be possible.
Why not?
There's very little information about Sharon Gregory.
Isn't she the victim?
Yes, but it seems that the public and the media's attention was more on Branch. I struggle to even find Sharon's exact age, but most sources do say 18.
You're telling me that we know exactly how many DVDs Mark Branch rented, but we barely know anything about Sharon Gregory?
True, but that might be out of more respect for the family.
Yeah, but it seems like the town is kind of obsessed with Mark Branch.
Indeed, but it seems like a point more for the psychologist.
The answer is pretty simple.
Okay, then tell us.
In a small town like Greenfield, it's not likely that they're used to such severe crimes as this. It can be assumed that their frame of reference might come from elements of pop culture. In this case, horror movies. In situations like these, it can be easy to become so caught up in the crime that you can forget what truly matters.
It does seem odd. It's hard to imagine they couldn't see this coming at all. I mean, Branch was known to harass girls in town. He was even institutionalized once.
Geez, Greenfield seriously should have known better. I mean, come on, why didn't anyone do anything?
Get off my desk.
Sorry.
It's easy to say you would have acted differently, but in a situation where your community is being threatened, rationality does not typically come first.
Even if they knew about his concerning behavior years before he turned violent, all I'm saying is all of this could have been avoided.
With a town of under 15,000 people who all knew each other, it's hard to imagine your neighbor could be capable of murder.
He was a danger to the people around him. Someone should have done something. I know I would have.
Even if they were your friend?
Exactly. I mean, would you suspect one of us to be capable of murder?
Yes.
Even me?
Well, no. You're not smart enough to commit a murder.
Oh.
But honestly, do you really believe it's the town's responsibility to keep tabs on each one of its residents?
All I'm saying is they waited until after an innocent girl was dead to talk about how bad Mark Branch was.
They were scared, detective. And don't act like nothing was done. Branch underwent psychiatric care in his teenage years after being known as a creep around town. I mean, they did the best they could with the knowledge, the mental health knowledge available to them in the 80s.
They could have done more.
What more do you want? You know, it's moments like these that really bring out your lack of empathy, detective. After a horrific crime was committed in their hometown, no one knew how to react. They did what the movies told them to do when a crazed killer is on the loose on the eve of Halloween. They locked their doors and practically shut down their town.
So the town thought that that was the best course of action because of horror movies?
Both Branch's actions and those of the town might have been heavily influenced by horror movies. They based their actions on what they saw on screen.
Yes, well, they played their parts perfectly, didn't they?
Branch not only dressed as Jason Voorhees, but he consistently ordered disturbing horror movies. The local video store clerk even told news reporters that when Branch visited the store, he mentioned, quote, "the gorier, the better," end quote.
Are you suggesting it was gory movies that made him violent?
Of course not. As I've said before, movies don't make people into killers. I'm merely pointing out the fact that the common thread here is the influence horror films have on the mind.
I've watched a lot of horror films and I haven't murdered anyone.
Well, yeah, but that's because, you're a little slow on the uptake.
Who says? I can be pretty swift with a knife.
Maybe when you're carving a pumpkin.
I'm pretty swift with a knife, too.
Well, yeah, but that's your job.
Sometimes.
Well, Jane's the same age Mark Branch was when he murdered Sharon Gregory.
Mark Branch was 13?
You think I'm 13? I've known you for 2 years.
Well, yeah, exactly. You were younger then.
The point is, you don't know what people are capable of. The town reacted to the crime like they were in a horror film, but the truth is, films reflect a heightened reality.
That sounds made up.
Oh, and your film noir main character personality isn't.
Well, I wouldn't say that. After all, I am the main character.
Excuse me? Where's your PhD?
I'm going to be a main character, too.
That's not how it works. There can only be one main character, and that's me.
What?
Yeah, the main character is me.
No,
Okay?
I don't
Guys,
think that's how it
Oh,
works.
really? Well,
Can you
know,
stop?
I
I-
I'm
What
here.
told
I
you
have
that?
to
What exactly makes you
Whatever.
qualify
Hey,
to be
that's
a main
what-
character?
I guess that
Oh,
concludes
what
today's
word?
episode.
Do you
Catch us
actually-
next
the hat,
week
the
when
pipe?
we actually get
No,
into
it's
the
not.
Halloween
No
spirit.
actual credentials.
Have you spent years studying
Marlo,
craft?
all the detectives.
Have you done it?
I have